Hi Isabel, it's Ashley. Thank you for sharing your discussion. Um, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start. So you had mentioned that, or you had talked about what you believe cultural responsiveness is, and I really love how you worded it. I love how I really took from that the admin, the staff, teachers, who have this cultural responsiveness into their program and into their school, into their daily lives and their beliefs, into their work. So they recognize and acknowledge the student's background and their culture, and they recognize their own biases, and they try to work with it. I really took from you how you said that these people, the admin staff, don't expect the students that are part of a different culture than they are to fit into one standard. They don't expect them to fit into one standard, and then instead they adapt. And I love that because it's true. I just think of it as, how would I want to feel if I was at some place unfamiliar? How would I want my son to be treated if he was at someplace unfamiliar? And I would really appreciate if the staff there adapted to his needs and to my needs. So I just think of that. You put yourself into their situation, into their shoes, and you just try to adapt and work with them and meet them where they are. The importance of having a culturally responsive program would be that you had mentioned would be the students would be more engaged, and they would be able to confide. So they would be able to build trust. You would be able to build trust with the students, and in the trust they'll be able to engage more in their classwork with their teachers and their peers, and they'd be able to engage more into extracurricular activities. They'd be able to engage more into and confide in you if they had any issues or felt uncomfortable or felt off, that they would be able to feel comfortable enough to confide in the counselor because of this culturally responsive program that the school has and that they have established. I want to talk about how you had mentioned about ESL and how in your years that you had experienced this, or you have seen many teachers do this. I think this is something that gets not overlooked, but this is something that goes on frequently in the public schools because of the pressure. One, the time is another one. All those basic things that we just have to deal with as teachers and staff. How we have to adjust and how there's so many things for us to do that sometimes the staff does overlook the basic needs of an ESL learner, and which is not only just Hispanic and Spanish language. It could be different cultures that are ESL, and I feel that the majority of the time when you think ESL, you automatically think Spanish, and so that I feel maybe makes people not want to do it because of their own beliefs and bias practices that they may be doing. But I think it's really good to have this in place and being able to meet these students and provide services to them, and being able to adjust to what they need, giving them their accommodations, and meeting them where they are. And when teachers and staff do this, the students will be able to feel comfortable. Another part you had mentioned was high academic expectations, which is true because not all cultures have students that are in GT courses, and then not all have in CTE, not all, etc. So all of that. So being able to have those high expectations, not only for a specific population in the class, in the school, but having it for all students, because all students can do it. You have seen leadership representation of all different types of cultural backgrounds and from leaders in our world. For example, African American, we had our first African American president. We haven't had our first woman or our first Hispanic or different ones yet, but hopefully one day we can get there. But in other leadership roles, you see lots of different cultural leaders in the world. So just being able to believe in everyone, because everyone can do it. They just need to be given a chance. They need to be given an ear to listen to, and they need someone to believe in them, and give them that hope and that door for them. And the last part is curriculum. I really enjoy this, and it reminded me one time I went to this next part, the curriculum. You had mentioned that if a history class focused on only one perspective, and that is true, because I remember one time, and ever since she said it, I just think of this now. I remember one time I went to the Get Your Teach On conference when I first started education, and the presenter, she was African American, and she was a teacher, and at the time she wasn't teaching anymore, but now she was making books and doing going to conferences and things like that. And she was doing history, and she was doing the African American side of that history. And she said that when she was in school, she would always wonder, when she was in her history classes, she would always wonder, okay, and what was African American, what were my people doing at that time? And I think that is very important to show to others, because a lot of the times people will reference a certain part of history, and then they'll say, oh, that was so nostalgic. And actually my family and I were talking about this the other day, and let's say back then, where they had teas and cups and corsets and all that, and that's what we were talking about. And I told her, I'm like, well, if you're looking at it from the classic American or England point of view, I'm like, but if you're looking at it from the Hispanic point of view, I don't think we were really doing that. I think we were more working in the fields kind of stuff for our culture. So I think it's very important to have more than one aspect and perspective on the classes, and showing the students the different points of view, because it's reality, and they should know the truth and what's out there and how everyone lived. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stop here, and thank you for sharing.